You ever watch a whole room freeze up just because one person walks in? That's what happened tonight. I strolled into the Grand View, Imperial jeans still creased from 5-hour flight, t-shirt a little faded, posture straight as a ruler. The marble lobby glowed under crystal chandeliers, but not even all that gold could warm the chill I felt when Victoria Sterling, the manager, clocked my face. She looked me up and down like I was some stray who'd wandered into a 5-star kennel. Security was on me before I even opened my mouth. "This is a private establishment," she said, her tone syrupy sweet but sharp enough to cut. The other guests white, wealthy, not used to their evenings getting interrupted by a guy who looked like Melindin, eager for a show. So I gave him one. "Good evening," I said, voice steady. "Reservation under Washington Hospitality Group." Victoria didn't even pretend to check her system. She just waved for security and let the crowd soak it in, like she was doing the world a favor. "We maintain certain standards," she announced. "You know what I mean?" The guards flanked me, uniforms crisp, faces blank, trained not to question. Meanwhile, Victoria performed for her audience, keeping luxury safe from folks like me. The air in that lobby was thick with the kind of confidence that comes from always being right in your own little world. But the truth? I wasn't just another walk-in. I'd landed in New York that morning. Not in my usual Tesla, but an Uber dressed down on purpose because I wanted to see for myself what went on in the shadows of places like this. At 34, I was the CEO of Washington Hospitality Group, net worth $2.8 billion, if you care about those things. 2 days before, I'd bought this entire chain through a network of holding companies. I'd heard whispers about selective service at the Grand View Imperial, about how they decided who belonged. I needed to see it up close, without the mask of power. Victoria had been running the show for 12 years, and her reputation was built on exclusivity. That's code for keeping people like me on the outside. Her assistant, Ryan Chun, shot me a nervous look as if he wanted to intervene, but couldn't. The other guests? Old money, young tech guys, trophy wives. They all watched, waiting for me to snap, but I just asked one more time for her to check the reservation. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been some confusion," she said, not an ounce of sincerity. "This establishment requires a certain caliber of clientele." She didn't need to say more. Everyone in that lobby understood the language. She told me maybe I'd be more comfortable down at the Holiday Inn. That's when I pulled out my phone. "Could you please check your system?" I asked again. She laughed, sharp and mean. "Sir, I don't need to check anything. I can see with my own eyes you don't belong here." The room went silent. Nobody spoke up. Victoria kept at it, talking about dress codes, standards, whatever excuse sounded official enough to wrap her prejudice in policy. I felt that old burn, the kind you get when your skin becomes your whole resume, but I kept my voice level. "Mom, im damon Washington. My company made this reservation 3 days ago. Please just check." She narrowed her eyes. "Washington, that's not possible." She almost recognized the name, but pushed it away. "Impersonating guests is illegal," she said, and called for security. Ryan hesitated, sensing this wasn't a normal situation, but Victoria barked at him to do his job. "Look at him," she told the crowd. "Does he look like he belongs in a $2,000 suite?" A woman in pearls muttered, "How did he even get past the door?" I pulled out my Centurion card, black as midnight, and slid it across the counter. "Maybe this will help." Victoria barely glanced at it. Anyone can get a fake credit card these days. Security arrived, 2 white guys, former military by the looks of them, caught between their orders and what their gut was telling them. "Gentlemen," I said quietly, "there's been a misunderstanding. I'm a guest here." The head of security, Jake Morrison, looked unsure, but Victoria was in charge. "He's trespassing," she declared. "Remove him immediately." So that's what they did. They walked me through the lobby like a warning, Victoria trailing behind, narrating the event for anyone who missed it. People filmed, whispered, or stepped aside, as if I was contagious. That walk to the exit was humiliation by design, the whole point being to remind me who made the rules. But I learned a long time ago, humiliation is fuel. As we neared the glass doors, Victoria leaned in with a final blow. "Sir, you're now banned from this establishment." If you return, you'll be arrested. I paused, turned back, and looked the crowd in the eye. Remember this moment, I said. Remember what you did or didn't do. Victoria laughed, a brittle sound. Is that a threat? No, I told her, it's a promise. I stepped out into the cool night, phone already in hand, and made the call that would flip her world upside down. I texted my assistant, Sarah, execute Grandview Imperial acquisition announcement immediately. Full staff meeting in 20. Termination paperwork from Management Victoria Sterling, effective tonight. I watched as the lights of the lobby flickered behind me, reflecting on everything that brought me here, son of a Korean immigrant mother, black father, building Washington hospitality from nothing just to prove that dignity isn't reserved for a chosen few. Within minutes, Sarah confirmed the announcement had gone live, business networks picked up the acquisition, stock prices jumped. Victoria still stood in the lobby, spinning her version of events to the guests, her heroic defense of exclusivity and aware that she'd just lost everything. Ryan, pale, read the confirmation on his screen, realizing the magnitude. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Now, here's where the real twist kicks in. I didn't call a lawyer or a PR firm first. I called my therapist, Dr. Angela Washington, because I needed to process the cost of deliberately putting myself through this for evidence. Meanwhile, CNN picked up the story. Black CO justice started trending. It was never about revenge for me. It was about changing the rules of the game for everyone who'd ever been told you don't belong. I headed back to the lobby, walking past the same people who watched me get thrown out 20 minutes earlier, except now their phones were buzzing with news alerts about the takeover. Victoria didn't notice at first, but the murmurs grew, and then Jake approached her. Ma'am, he owns the hotel. He owns the chain. The lobby went silent. People started filming. I approached Ryan, who whispered, the penthouse suite, sir. I tried to tell her. Victoria's face cycled through denial, confusion, and then horror. I pulled out my business card. We were interrupted during introductions, I said, handing it to her. The lobby became a theater for consequences. Some guests deleted their footage, suddenly desperate to distance themselves. Victoria, shaking, tried to dismiss me as a fake. But Sarah patched me through to corporate, and the regional director's voice boomed over the speaker. Mr. Washington, congratulations on the acquisition. We're honored to have you. Now, the spotlight swung back to Victoria. I asked her to explain her customer screening process to the board, now listening in. Jake stood by, uncertain, and the young black couple from earlier approached quietly to thank me. I turned to the crowd. You felt safe because you thought I was powerless. Some of you cheered, some filmed, some did nothing. All choices. Victoria tried to defend herself. I was just maintaining our standards, but every word only tightened the noose. As the board listened, Sarah's updates rolled in, news vans arriving, legal offers from civil rights groups, the hashtag Hotel Justice blowing up online. I called for Victoria's termination on a public line, and Jennifer from HR listed 17 discrimination complaints in 18 months, with 6 settlements. The lobby reeled. Jake, recognizing the gravity, began filing a report for possible criminal charges. Victoria lost it, shouting, "This is a setup," but her voice was drowned out by the reality. This wasn't her first time. I told the crowd, accountability starts tonight. Victoria was escorted out, her exit as public as my humiliation had been. Within hours, the hotel chain's board created a compensation fund for victims and mandatory diversity training for all properties. Reporters interviewed guests, staff shared their stories. The toxic silence was finally broken. 1 month later, Victoria faced a tribunal. Evidence piled, sky-high footage, complaints, settlements, testimonies. Her lawyer tried damage control, but the judge cut through the nonsense. My testimony made it clear, exclusivity is just a fancy word for discrimination. Victoria's termination was upheld, her name blacklisted across the industry, her fall a warning shot for anyone who thought racism didn't come with a price tag. 6 months after that night, I stood on stage at the International Hospitality Summit, telling 2,000 executives, discrimination wasn't a bug in the system, it was a feature. Since then, Over 400 complaints processed, 17 managers out. Diversity scores up, guest satisfaction among minorities through the roof. Competing chains scrambled to keep up, desperate to avoid the next viral accountability moment. Dignity audits, undercover assessments, and transparency became the norm. My team launched nationwide equity initiatives, and the story of the Grandview Imperial became required reading at Harvard, Stanford, everywhere. 2 years later, I walked through the same lobby, now covered in awards for diversity and excellence. Ryan, now general manager, greeted me by name. Jake, promoted to regional director, reported 0 discrimination incidents. The young couple from that night visited every year on their anniversary, their kids running through a space that once made them afraid. Victoria's old office? Now it's a training center for dignity. The wall is lined with letters from guests whose lives were changed because we chose to do better. The computers automatically escalate, complaints no more silencing. No more, that's just the way it is. This is what luxury looks like when everyone belongs. So, let me ask you, should racist managers face lifetime bans? Should one person's bias cost them a career? Or do you believe in second chances? Drop your thoughts below. Because in the end, dignity denied anywhere diminishes dignity everywhere. But when we fight for one, we fight for all. If this story made you rethink what's possible, subscribe for more. Because Victoria was just the beginning. Systematic discrimination ends where systematic accountability begins.